Well, we're still working on the test section for Bottleneck Creek.
Oh, it's coming along, though.
You know, it's coming along, and I'm really looking forward to starting over on the actual railroad, because I think we've arrived at a point here where we sort of know what we're doing.
I like that look.
Yeah, this is what we're after, and this week we're going to be trying this, pouring the water. Now, I've done this in the past on previous railroads using polyester resins and stuff and epoxies and stink. And then, of course, we've got the whole swamp section where you've built the cattails. Mm-hmm. And so we need to figure out if we can pour water in and around those and make that look correct as well. So a lot of people have been saying, well, give up on polyester resin and epoxy and use this stuff.
Oh.
Woodland Scenics Deep Pour Water.
Wow.
And it's like, well, while we're testing, we're going to test this. And so we bought one of these kits over at the train shop and read the instructions, and I think we're ready to proceed with our test section to see if we can make this stuff work. And I hope it works better than polyester, because that stuff has never worked for me at all.
Oh, it's hard.
Now, they give you these two measuring glasses, and you put these decals on there, and that was where I ran into my first problem.
I can see where that could be a problem.
If they're not on exactly at the right height, all your numbers are off.
Oh.
Now, notice at the bottom where 30 milliliters or whatever it is just part way up, and 60, look how far up 60 is.
Oh, dear.
So clearly the decal is way too low on the glass, so I had to sort of improvise.
Yes.
Anyway, the first thing you do is you have to heat the mixture up. So you put it in a bowl of warm water, and then they give you a plastic bag to put the bottles in so that you don't get the bottles wet, because water is apparently quite an enemy of this stuff.
Of fake water, yeah.
Yeah, water is the enemy of fake water, and so they want to make sure that you don't get water on the outside of your bottles. I'm not sure why. Anyway, we've prepped our whole section over here, and we're going to pour it in different sections as we go. But I'm going to mix the entire batch that we need to use over here. Now, they've got some elaborate math that you can do to figure out how much you need. I ignored the math. I just winged it.
Oh.
And when I took the stuff out of the plastic bag, look at this.
Oh.
Plastic bag leaks.
Oh, well, there you go.
So a plastic bag didn't do us any good at all.
You need a good towel.
A good towel. So anyway, yeah, it was real easy. I just, but they also gave us some gloves. And I couldn't wear those gloves. We've got plenty of gloves around here.
Oh, those are the better kind. The other ones look like you serve a salad with or something.
Yeah, I mean, what is that, a food service thing? So I threw those away. So those are of no value at all. So I poured 45 milliliters of water resin in here, and then I had to add 50% more of that. But again, I had to take into account that the 30 is not really in the place of the 30, so how much do I really have in here?
Yay. Well, you could use a red Solo cup.
Yeah, but I need the decal on there.
Well, not necessarily. The little red Solo cup is for mixing drinks, too, and they're stepped off in measurements.
Oh.
We could try that.
I think that'd be better than the decal. So next time we'll be trying a red Solo cup with measurements already on there that should be accurate. In the meantime, I have to add enough hardener to this to set off what I think is 45 milliliters of water. So I brought it up to 60, which should be correct if the decal's in the proper location, which I'm pretty sure it's not. But
it looks even, but who knows?
I think it's going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay once I stir this up. Now, both the instructions and my own previous experience dictates do not stir this really robustly. We don't want to get a lot of bubbles into it. So I put a mixing stick in here and then just very, very gradually and gently stirred it.
Stirred, not shaken.
Stirred, not shaken, so that I don't get any more bubbles in here than I absolutely have to. And then you stir for 5 minutes.
Oh.
And then it should be ready to pour at that point, if it's all in the right proportions. Now here's a trick that I picked up years ago when doing these kinds of things. If you want to direct something like this into a very specific location, use your stir stick and hold that in the location and then pour your material down the stir stick.
Well, that makes sense.
And that'll help prevent bubbles, but it also should put the stuff right where you want it, except then it dripped and oops. Because I'm trying not to get this all over the scenery.
Right.
And I'm getting it all over the scenery.
Oh, dear.
So I know I'm going to have to come back and do some touch-up. But part of the reason for doing the stick here is to get it to go where I want it to and not just all over all my bushes and grasses and scenery and everything. And generally speaking, this is working. I'm getting a little bit of it into the cattails here.
Uh-oh.
And I'll have to go in with some scissors and trim away some little pieces that are sticky.
Yes.
And then also wherever it's dropped onto the ground and whatnot, I'll have to come back with some paint and just touch that up because I don't want a little shiny spot there.
Yeah.
Let's just hope it stays clear.
I keep getting it into the scenery and then I'll have to come back and fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I think that's about all I want to do right there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just a
Just
touch
a little bit
more.
over there. Yeah.
Touch more here.
Okay. That pouring down the stick, that's a real, whoop, you got some way over on the
Oh,
side.
crap.
Well, it's going to be a bigger puddle than we know.
Yeah. Darn it. Well, I'll have to patch that.
So I guess the best laid plans of mice and men often make a big puddle on the ground.
Oh, dear.
But we're ready to move on over to the stream. This should be easier because I'm not working around the vegetation and so on. But we really wanted to try doing this with the vegetation in place because then we can use this to cover up the mounting because you've used that hot melt glue.
Right, and see if there's not a, I hope there's no reaction between the two.
Everything seems good so far.
Good.
And the hot melt glue disappeared.
Oh.
Because it's all surrounded now with this clear material and clear material and clear material, and you can't see it there anymore.
That was kind of what we were hoping for.
That was the plan, and it's working brilliantly. So other than the fact that I made a big puddle over there and made a mess, so far everything's working out great. And now for the stream, this isn't really one of those active, rabid wave streams.
No.
This is a California stream. This is a late summer stream where the water is mostly gone and there's just this kind of trickle of water still kind of coming down through here. It still sort of qualifies as a stream,
Yes.
but only just barely.
There's a spring up ahead.
There's a spring up ahead. Yes, there's a spring in our step or something. Anyway, that time of year when the water's still there, but only just barely, because I love that look, and that's the look that I'm after. Now, there is a bit of a problem here because I'm getting some of this material on the tops of the rocks, and of course the stream wouldn't be doing that. All of the water would be down in and among the rocks, and I shouldn't have these shiny spots up on top of the rocks. So I'm going to have to try to figure out a solution for that.
Looks like water.
Yeah, it's working really well so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to make sure I don't overdo this and spill it off the back side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things I found that makes a certain amount of sense is things started to behave a little bit like a stream. And as I put this material in up at the top, it slowly ran its way all the way down to the bottom and tried to run over the little dam down here at the bottom. So I added another piece of tape down here to keep it from just over flooding because it was all kind of pooling down here.
Oh, gee.
Which is okay because that's what it really would have been doing in the real
Exactly.
world. And that's what we're trying for here is real world. So it's okay that a lot of material is ending up pooling down here in these deep spots. Looks fine.
Some more to the pond.
Mm-hmm.
Because back here I can
That's
see
kinda
the
dry.
glue kind of sticking up out. So let's see if this... Adding a bit more in.
Mm-hmm. What I'm hoping is that the glue sticks, as clear as they are, will just kind of blend in. It doesn't have some kind of a chemical reaction.
Yeah,
But we'll find
I'll
out.
see soon enough.
Well, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks not. I like it.
I love it. It just needs to set up now. We need to make sure that dust and debris doesn't get in here, but it's kind of settling down in there, so it's not up and around on the tops of the rocks. Again, that's a bit of a problem because it's made the rocks shiny, but I have a plan for that. But look how neat the pond looks.
I like the moss.
Isn't that neat? I painted that moss down there thinking that would work and look super, and oh my gosh.
It does. It looks the real thing, I'll tell you.
I expect to see little fish.
Yes.
Maybe you can figure out how we can do little fish.
That's what I'm trying to think, if we can do a fish.
Yeah, little sparkly things down in there that look like a fish or something. Anyway, we'll work on that.
We'll
figure that out. But in the meantime, I'll call this whole test a success. The swamp looks like a swamp.
Yes.
It's small. The real swamp will be big.
We need a frog.
But we need to. Oh, and maybe the sound of frogs.
Here we go.
I love that. But the cut bank around the swamp, the bushes sticking up out of the swamp, everything about the swamp is good, other than the fact that it's not big. And the real swamp is about 2 feet long and about 5 inches wide. So on the real railroad, this will look great.
Right.
Over here, it's just a test. But that's a great test.
It is.
I love it. I love the cattails. I love the way they're sticking up out of the water. I just really love everything about it. That's super. I really love these flowers here, too.
I like the splash of color. It's just fun.
Yeah, it's not something you see on a lot of railroads, but definitely we want to have that over on the real railroad. Wildflowers.
Right, that does occur in nature.
But this cut bank, the cut bank over on the stream, oh, I love that.
It turned out nice.
That is really, really neat. Again, I got to get rid of some of that shiny stuff on top of the rocks, but I have a plan in place for that, and I think that'll work just fine. But other than that, other than the shiny stuff coming up into places it doesn't belong, I think everything over here on the stream is just exactly what I had in mind.
Yes.
We just need to knock down the shiny stuff on here. And I think this rock really typifies what I'm talking about. That shiny material comes clear up onto the rock, even though it's sticking up out of the water and shouldn't look wet, because that's not rapidly moving water. It's just kind of standing water, and it shouldn't be coming up onto the rocks like that.
No, not all the way at any rate.
Not all the way. A little bit down in there, and then of course there are the problems where I spilled.
Well, that could turn into a thing.
That could turn into, but this just means coming in with some of the paint that I used and touching that up.
Mm-hmm.
That should be easy. I'm much more concerned about the shiny spots that are in the river, not the shiny spots up here on the scenery, because those should just paint out. I'm just gonna.
I hope so.
I hope so, because they look a mess. It looks like there's been a rainstorm or something like that. So, but these should just paint out and touch up and be fine. And then all of this open ground around here is more test site.
Right.
We want to do static grass.
Oh, right.
I've never successfully done static grass, but we've ordered a static grass generator, the Woodland Scenics one, from the train shop, and I got the call today. It's come in.
Oh, good.
So the area around here will be static grass. In the meantime, I'm covering everything up here with a piece of cardboard.
That's a good idea.
Help trap the heat in there, which will help speed up the reaction. But the bigger issue is let's keep the dust and flies and
An occasional spider.
the spider. Yeah. So we should now be ready to strip off the tape, and everything should be more or less set up. And it's still a little sticky and a little rubbery. It's been 24 hours, and I thought it would be completely set up, and it's mostly set up. And I think I'm okay to strip the tape off of here, but you can see it's kind of pulling against the water. The water's still just a little bit rubbery. So once I got the tape off, there's some little imperfections like this. But once it's completely hard, then I'm going to come in with a knife and clean up the ragged edge along here.
Oh, that turned out neat.
Isn't that neat?
I like that part.
The underwater effect. Again,
Yes.
we need fish.
Yes, one or two.
One or two fish down there. But that really looks neat where you can see up underneath there. I know a lot of people put that on their railroads because they really like the effect. And I wasn't completely sold on it, but there it is, and I love it.
The cutaway.
The cutaway. Okay, time now to go in and touch up the spills. And these are the colors that I used for the ground, so I should be able to combine these together and recreate the exact color that I used here. And these are very matte finish paints, and so they should blend in pretty well. And if they don't, again, this whole area is going to be static grass after a little while, so
It won't matter too much.
It won't matter too much, but I want to make sure everything looks good. Now I've got to get rid of the shiny spots over here. And my plan was to use flat clear. Just come in with a flat clear and brush that on top of the rocks where they're shiny and just knock down the shine by adding a flat clear. And I have some flat clear left over from the old Floquil railroad color days. And that's always been my favorite flat clear. Well, you got me that Tester's flat clear spray.
Found that.
But this brushes on, and it works very, very similar. The label fell off of it years ago. It's not on the market. It hasn't been on the market forever because they say it's dangerous and whatever. But it's my favorite flat clear, and fortunately I have some. So I'm just going to go in here with my brush and try to knock down these shiny spots where I spilled onto the rocks and the scenery, or where it just kind of crept up on there. And now I'm going to do a trick that Jack Douglas showed me years ago.
Oh, the baby powder trick.
The baby powder trick. I said, Jack, you don't have any flat black, and I need to make an asphalt road. And he said, well, just mix baby powder with your gloss black, and that'll turn it flat. And I did, and it was the best looking road I've ever painted.
There you go.
So I'm going to mix a little talcum powder, Johnson's baby powder here, with my flat clear as I'm brushing that onto the rocks, and that should really, really knock down the shine. So the key here is to really blend the talc into the flat clear, because if there's little lumps of white, those are going to show.
Absolutely.
It'll make little white speckles, which actually on the rock I don't think will look bad, and I'm actually sort of planning to allow for a little bit of that. But I don't want it to look like they're coated with talcum powder either.
No.
I just want a nice flat finish on the surface of my rocks. So I'm very carefully blending in that, and now coming in and just brushing onto the tops of the rocks. Another advantage to this stuff is it dries very quickly. But look at that.
Oh, that looks natural.
Boy, that knocked that sheen off of the tops of the rocks. We still have a little bit of wet down around the bottoms where the water's up against them. And this is much, much more what I had in mind.
That's more convincing.
Much more convincing. And there's some other places in here where I can see I might want to come in and knock down the sheen a little bit. But for the most part, that right there is the look. And if you look very closely, you can see some of those little white speckles from the talcum powder. But that doesn't bother me. To me, that just has a natural feel to it. Notice the back of this rock I missed, so I'm going to have to come in and touch up. But that really starkly shows the difference between having the shiny stuff on the rock where you don't want it versus having the rocks not shiny where they're sticking up out of the water. And look at how nice this section.
Oh, that turned out nice.
That is exactly the look that I wanted. And you still get a little sense of that talc. And again, that doesn't bother me at all. It's a nice flat finish. And then over here, these two rocks that stick up out of the pond over here, they were all shiny, and it looked bad because there shouldn't be water up on top of this. But I was able to preserve the muddy look while drying off the rocks.
Very good.
And I'm really happy about this. We just have a little bit of touch-up to do, and we're ready to do static grass. And I am having just a little bit of trouble matching the color, but who cares? It's all going to be static grass.
There you go.
But it's always hard to blend a color and get it exactly the way you had it. So we're ready to move on to the real Bottleneck Creek on the actual railroad.
That should be a good one.
So here's what I'm up to over there, applying all of the lessons learned on the test section to the real Bottleneck Creek. So we have the same fallen tree and the same river rock. It's a totally different looking creek.
Right.
But this is the goal over here, and then I can build this bridge and lay this track.
There you go.
And that will all be next week's show. And at the end here will be a link to the playlist showing you all of these different videos leading up to that point. And you can see how we get to this point right here. Here's the finished creek underneath the bridge, the actual Bottleneck Creek So that should be fun. So check out that link. And we're also going to be doing a show on these dioramas that you've been building.
Those are fun little kits.
Yeah, this is really neat what you're doing. And they're approximately the same scale that we're working in, a little smaller. So that will be on the channel too. So if you haven't been over to the channel, you do want to pop on over to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, then you want to become a subscriber. And here's how you do that with the blue button. Are we ready? Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Tuesday as we look at some collectible stuff. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.